Our next lightning speaker, I love it, is Chris Liu. Chris is a creative technologist who has always been at the forefront of technology, from game design aspirations at a young age through to XR and AI today. At the Auckland University of Technology, he specialised in VR game design, interactive design, and immersive storytelling, all emerging fields where the old ideas of how users interacted with content no longer applied, and where simple storytelling styles had to be rebuilt from the ground up. After graduating, Chris leapt straight into the industry with DOTDOT, helping to develop esoteric experiences that captivated audiences in new ways. And in recent years, Chris has also delved into the oncoming melding of the game design and film industries, bringing tools and techniques pioneered in gaming over to the film set and bringing filmic expertise back to the gaming realm in return. Please welcome to the stage, Chris Liu.
Oh, hello everyone. As he said, my name is Chris Liu, and I'd like to welcome you all to this lightning talk about Digital Buskers, a hybrid installation created in the heart of Auckland City in collaboration with Auckland Live in order to engage with audiences in Auckland's Aotea Square. It was an experiment not only in audience interaction, but also ways that we could take the fundamental arts and really blend them with new ideas and new tech. First, just a little bit of backstory about myself, more than you already got. I'm a creative technologist at DOTDOT. We specialize in immersive experiences and installations, working alongside museums, cultural institutions, and all sorts of independent artists who really want to use digital media as a way to engage with viewers. One example actually would be Climate Converters, which is right downstairs in the Te Nature exhibitions, if you want to go check that out. Digital Buskers is, of course, also one such mixed installation. Originally conceived by Noble Nasir of Auckland Live, it consists of a physical crank and a plinth sitting atop a little circle of astroturf, concerningly, and a very, very large screen. But to actually explain how all of this fit together, I have a video here from our partners at Auckland Live, which will explain the details.
When you arrive in Aotea Square, you have this big screen with a red curtain on it, and then you have this intriguing crank in the middle of the square. So what you're invited to do is to turn that crank, and as you turn the crank, the red curtain starts to open.
Hi, I'm Max, I'm an independent artist.
And when it opens, it reveals a pre-recorded video of an artist that you can experience for a few minutes, and then the curtain closes again. So it's all kind of in your power to then turn again the crank to discover another buskers.
More than my looks like the monotone I became.
We started off by testing a few different interactions that we thought could work in the square, but the one that we found worked the best was a physical crank.
The weight of the structure combined with the tension in the crank and the sound which it made when you turned it resulted in a very satisfying experience.
The other big aspect, I think, of busking festivals and busking encounters is the tipping, the donation, the showing your appreciation for the performer. And so we really wanted to find a way to bring that mechanic into the work. We did this through having a web app, so you scan a QR code, and then depending what busker's on the screen, you're then able to donate to that busker, and also show your appreciation by sending claps, hearts, emojis to the digital screen as well.
Wait, is this really happening?
Digital Buskers premiered in Aotea Square in May 2023 for Aotearoa New Zealand Music Month.
I would like to acknowledge that no one would have liked to be here to present with us today, but unfortunately, due to certain constraints, could not join me here. So then, what was the original brief here? Well, primarily Auckland Live had seen that Aotea Square was no longer the vibrant hub of activity that it was pre-COVID. Funny how that happens. The brief wasn't just about lighting up the square, though. Anybody can do that. It was more about revitalizing it and everything around it. So then, why did we go this route? Why did we do this? We wanted the visibility and retention of a glamorous concert or a big screen, but we wanted the relatability, the responsiveness, the interactiveness of a real live in-person performance. Essentially, we wanted to bring the busker personification and the serendipity of that whole thing to the big screen in a way that no one else really had done before. Step one of the process was deciding how we wanted to capture that audience and how to let them interact with all of that. It had to be something that really instigated an unshakable curiosity in people, a really primal feeling. And as a public outdoor installation, though, it had some design criteria to consider. I mean, outdoors and all. It had to worry about rain, wind, the unrelenting public right there. That meant that our first option, which is a giant big red button, that probably wouldn't survive. So we had to look for something a little bit less delicate. Now, our first prototypes, which you see there, the very first one was a little motion-sensitive bench, which detected when people sat down on it and started the content when they did. Problem is, though, that didn't really attract anybody more than an average park bench did. Next, we moved on to that one you see over there, which is a pressure-sensitive board that tells people to go stand on it and starts the content when they do. Problem is, though, we couldn't really find anybody that was brave enough to go stand on a board in the middle of the grass, and even when they did, they couldn't really relate it to the content on screen starting. Finally, and probably most successfully, we moved on to that crank over there, which is mechanically more complex than all of the others, but it was durable, definitely. And you could definitely tell when you were doing something with it, especially once we baked theater curtains into the content itself and had them open when you turned that crank. Probably most importantly, though, that crank really had pull. People were going out of their way across the entire square just to mess with the thing. So really, we had our answer. It was something that would viscerally attract people, that was really easy to understand, and that would last longer than 5 minutes in average Auckland conditions. But the crank itself only allowed interaction from one person at a time. One person had. So, as you can see on the screen there, and as discussed in the video, we moved on to having emojis in a web app that was a companion, which would float up across the screen whenever you tapped the same emoji in the app. Through that, we'd hoped that we wanted to, again, give everybody that same level of agency, even if the base performances were pre-recorded in the end, because we wanted to really blur that mental line between those performances and the idea that this is a true immersive experience, the same as any other. To that end, the content itself also needed a specific visual language. We needed to preserve that feeling of busker physicality. And we needed to work with the limits of the screen that we had, which, as you can see there, is actually about 3 meters off of the ground. So in terms of the visual language, we had to film all of our stuff from the floor with no cuts and no different angles thereof, because, in effect, we really wanted to preserve that physicality throughout. We didn't ever really want to break that illusion that these people are really playing music or doing circus acts inside that screen as if it were a theater. And after that, we could play with it, give it a little CGI kick, maybe start duplicating actors, give them the really cool stage like you see over there. In effect, we wanted to give each performer their own identity, their own unique feel, without ever breaking that illusion of physicality. And in the end, we could provide soul and character to each performer without ever jeopardizing that feeling. And we could give them a human, authentic performance that the audience could directly interact with. And we did it in a way that really retained their interest, even when the stuff is just pre-recorded and running through and through. But even after that, we still had the interstitials, the little bits between each performer to worry about. Because while the plinth and the crank did some of the heavy lifting in terms of interest gathered, we didn't really want our screen to just kind of be a picture of some theater curtains all the time. That's not really that great. So we aimed to further guide passers-by in with a call to action. We gave them some spotlights that said, hey, come over, turn the crank. And then our hopes with that were to kind of guide them in, and then from there, let their curiosity really take hold. Again, in a very primal way that they didn't really need to think about. Now, in the end, Digital Buskers was largely successful in what it set out to do. For the whole of Music Month, Aotea Square was brought back to life, in part because of that installation sat in the middle of it. But no one's vision was always to create a living installation that moved from town to town. It was to be a rolling stone that travels the world and gathers new performers as it goes. We wanted to give them an expressive and affordable way to really put themselves out there wherever it went, which is why we'd love to start a conversation if any of you have any comments or ideas about where it could go next. Thank you for listening for that.